There is a spotlight that follows you, even when you are alone. It's the subtle, persistent feeling of being on stage. The philosopher Alan Watts knew this feeling well. He suggested it wasn't a sign that you were broken, but a sign that you were fundamentally misunderstanding who the audience is. It's a quiet tension that lives behind your eyes. A constant awareness of being perceived. In a meeting, on a date, even posting a comment online. There is an invisible audience, and their judgment feels both imminent and constant. You become the tireless editor of your own life, cutting out the awkward phrases, the clumsy moments, the vulnerable truths. You rehearse conversations that will never happen and critique performances that are already over. And the great paradox is this: the more you try to perform for this invisible jury, the more disconnected and fraudulent you feel. You are constantly auditioning for a role you were already given, but what if the exhaustion you feel isn't from the performance itself, but from constantly seeking applause from the wrong audience? What if the freedom you seek doesn't come from a perfect delivery of your lines, but from a radical shift in your understanding of the theater? This is not a journey about learning to be a better actor. It's about turning the house lights on. It's about discovering that the source of true, resonant applause doesn't come from out there, in the dark, but from a place you've been taught to ignore. A place of profound self-acceptance that has been waiting, patiently, for you to notice the show. This feeling of being perpetually on trial is the default state of the modern mind. We are conditioned to see life not as an experience to be lived, but as a problem of public relations to be managed. From our grades in school to our metrics on social media, we are handed a scorecard and told that our value is determined by the scores we achieve. We become obsessed with the audience's reaction, and this creates the great loop of anxiety that defines so many of our lives. We perform to get approval, but the very act of performing makes us feel inauthentic, which in turn makes us seek more approval to quiet the feeling of being a fraud. Alan Watts saw this loop with stunning clarity. He understood that our deepest suffering comes from this external orientation. We are like musicians playing a beautiful song, but we are so consumed with watching the audience for signs of approval that we can no longer hear the music we are making. To break this spell, we need a guide. Not a director to give us better stage notes, but a decoder to help us read the script we were handed at birth. Alan Watts was a master decoder of the human condition. He didn't offer a 5-step plan to become a more confident performer. Instead, he offered a radical reimagining of the entire theater. He suggested that the constant fear of judgment was a symptom of a mistaken identity, a case of the actor forgetting the most fundamental truth of the play. The key he offered is a profound shift in perspective. It begins with questioning the very existence of the critical audience we fear so much. In the next part of our journey, we will explore the first transformative idea from this perspective, the realization that you have been performing for an empty theater. And we will discover who the real audience has been all along. The hook we left on was the startling idea that you have been performing for an empty theater. How can this be when the fear of judgment feels so real, so visceral? It's because the audience you fear is not out there. It's in here. It is a ghost you have built from 1,000 scattered pieces, the disappointed look of a parent, the critical tone of a teacher, the imagined disapproval of your peers, the impossible standards of the culture you live in. Your mind has recorded every single one of these moments and assembled them into a single, terrifying entity, the judge. And you have given this judge the best seat in the house, right in the front row of your own mind. This judge is who you're really performing for. Every time you hesitate, every time you self-censor, every time you replay a mistake on a loop, it is for their benefit. You are the sole actor in a one-person show, performing for a critic of your own creation. Let's make this real for a moment. Pause and think of the last time you felt that sting of judgment, the fear of having done or said the wrong thing. Whose voice was it, really, that you heard in your head? Was it the actual voice of another person, or was it the familiar echo of your own internal critic, narrating what you imagined they must be thinking? This is the pattern. We don't live in reality. We live in our story about reality. And in your story, the audience is harsh. The first step toward freedom is not to try and please this judge. You have already tried that, and it is a recipe for exhaustion. The first step is simply to see the judge for what it is: a phantom, a habit of thought, a memory. You turn on the house lights, and you see that the seats are empty. The critic was never real. And this is terrifying, because it removes all of your excuses. But it is also the beginning of true liberation. Because if there is no one there to judge you, then the performance is no longer a trial. It is something else entirely. What then is the point of the play? If the performance is not a trial, then what is it? This question shifts us from the language of judgment to the language of play. Watts often spoke of the universe using the metaphor of music or dance. Think of a dancer. The purpose of a dance is not to arrive at a particular spot on the floor. The purpose of the dance is the dance itself. Each step, each movement, each moment is its own point. To be so focused on the final pose is to miss the entire experience. To rush the dance is to ruin it. Life, he suggested, is exactly like this. We have been taught to live as if we are running a race, desperate to get to the finish line, the promotion, the relationship, the retirement. We are so focused on arriving that we miss the dance. The serious person is the one who believes the point is the destination. The playful person is the one who understands the point is the journey. When you realize the theater is empty, the pressure to get it right dissolves. You are no longer performing for a grade. You are simply on the stage of existence, and you are free to dance. Your life ceases to be a problem to be solved and becomes a piece of music to be enjoyed. The clumsy moments are not mistakes. They are just interesting notes in the composition. The moments of joy are not rewards. They are the melody itself. This is the great shift. You stop using your life as a means to an end, the end being the approval of the phantom audience, and you begin to experience your life as an end in itself. But the mind might still resist. It might say, if it's all just a dance, does anything matter? Is this an excuse for nihilism? This is the final layer we must understand. This playful perspective is not about caring less. It's about caring more deeply, but in a different way. It is the difference between an actor who nervously recites his lines, hoping the critics will be kind, and a master actor who so deeply loves the role that they inhabit it with every fiber of their being. For the sheer joy and beauty of the performance itself, this brings us to our final unifying metaphor, the cosmic theater. To truly embody this freedom, you must see yourself as a master actor. Imagine a legendary actor, someone like Anthony Hopkins or Meryl Streep. When they take on a role, they don't do it timidly. They don't stand on stage worrying if they are doing it right. They pour the entirety of their being into the character. They embrace the character's flaws, their passions, their tragedies. They find the beauty in the struggle. They are not the character, but they lend their consciousness to the character so fully that, for a time, the distinction blurs. And they do this not for the applause, though it may come, but for the love of the craft. For the art of it. This, Watts proposed, is our true nature. You are the universe's consciousness, playing the role of you. You have been given this incredible, complex, flawed, and beautiful character to play for a short time on the cosmic stage. And you have become so immersed in it, so convinced by it, that you have forgotten that you are the artist behind it. The fear of judgment belongs to the character. The need for approval belongs to the character. The anxiety and the seriousness are part of the character's script. The goal is not to drop the script and walk off the stage. The invitation is to play your part with everything you've got. To feel your character's heartbreak so fully it cracks you open. To experience your character's joy so completely it lights up the world. But the secret is to do it all with a quiet, loving awareness in the background that knows it's a magnificent performance. You are the actor who has learned to applaud the beauty of their own tragedy. This is the final step before the revelation. It is learning to be both the actor, lost in the role, and the artist, in love with the role. In our final section, we will explore how to do this. We will learn how to become your own loving audience, the one who doesn't judge the performance, but applauds the courage of the performer. We have arrived at the heart of it all. We have seen that the critical audience is a phantom, that life is a dance to be enjoyed, and that you are a master actor playing a complex role. The final piece is not a piece of knowledge, but an act of the heart. It is the shift from fearing judgment to offering applause. This is what it means to become your own audience. Not a critical audience looking for flaws. We have already fired that one. This is a loving audience. A compassionate audience. An audience that is simply in awe that a performance is happening at all. Think of how you would watch a child in their first school play. They forget a line, they stumble on the set, their costume is crooked. Do you judge them? Or does your heart fill with warmth at their courage for just being on that stage, trying their best? This is the perspective you must learn to give to yourself. This loving audience doesn't applaud your successes and boo your failures. It applauds the entire performance. It applauds the courage it took to have that difficult conversation, even if your voice shook. It applauds the vulnerability of trying something new, even if you failed spectacularly. It applauds the sincerity of your heart, even when your actions were clumsy. It finds the beauty not in the perfection of the execution, but in the raw, authentic humanity of the attempt. The portable wisdom is this: at the end of each day, or after any moment of struggle, take a moment to sit in the seat of this loving audience. Ask yourself, not, did I win or lose? But what was the beauty in that performance? Maybe the beauty was in your honesty. Maybe it was in your resilience. Maybe it was simply in the fact that you showed up at all. This practice, over time, rewires your entire relationship with yourself, from one of criticism to one of deep, abiding friendship. This changes everything. A critical comment from another person is no longer a devastating verdict from the judge. It is simply a review from another person in the theater, and you are free to consider it or discard it. Your flaws and quirks are no longer defects to be hidden, but interesting and memorable aspects of the character you are playing. A profound sense of lightness enters your life because you are no longer trying to hide from yourself. You are finally fully on your own side. So the invitation that this journey leaves you with is a simple one. Today, as you move through your scenes in your work, in your home, in your own mind, remember the dual role you are playing. Be the actor completely, and be the loving audience completely. Can you be brave enough to give your own imperfect, beautiful human performance a standing ovation? Not because it was flawless, but because it was yours?